ST6. My name is Kata Sproul, and I do the marketing here at Swoosh Technologies. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to dive right into the material and hand it over to Sam Estrada, who is an application engineer here, and he also is an instructor on many of our courses. So, and Sam is out of Houston, Texas, so many of you might know him from working on Solid Edge. So here you go, Sam.
Okay, can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, so today in this little Solid Edge short, we're going to be covering synchronous modeling. We're going to kind of cover a brief definition of what synchronous modeling is, and then we'll go step by step, what it is and how it interacts with live rules, the solution manager, and the different things you can do with synchronous inside our demo. So to kick things off, we always get asked, what is synchronous? We throw that name around over here with, internally inside Siemens and inside Swoosh, and then we talk to customers and prospects. We talk about synchronous, and for new people, they look at us, wondering, okay, what is synchronous? What is it? Explain it to me, define it, and it's hard to put into one single sentence just because it encompasses so many things within Solid Edge. But I kind of broke it down here into three basic definitions. It's synchronous modeling is a 2D-like relationships applied directly to model faces. So you're not working, you start off with a sketch initially, but then everything else then is related to the actual model as you're designing and creating it. So your 3D dimensions get applied directly to the model. Those are then used to drive the model and help you better design your part. And then the design intent becomes inherent to the model itself without without having to rely there on the 2D sketch. Because, and as I'll show you, inside synchronous, what happens to your sketch is once you extrude and make a 3D object, that sketch now doesn't even drive any of the 3D model. It gets put into its own little folder, and pretty much any change that you do make is made on the model itself. Now, why is this good? It makes you a little more efficient. It helps you focus in on what you're designing versus what steps you need to take in order to design it. And hopefully here in this next couple of 20 minutes or so, we'll show you the benefits of it. So for now, let's go ahead and jump on into the demo. Show you a couple parts. So right now I have a Solid Edge open, and I have my synchronous environment turned on. I can see that by over here in the Pathfinder, I'm in synchronous mode. Now the main changes, like I said, was everything does start out as a sketch inside synchronous, and between a history-based environment and synchronous, that's about where the similarities end. The first thing I need to do is pick a plane I want to start designing on. And for right now, I'm going to go ahead and pick this top plane here. I'm going to lock down into it, and I'm going to draw a basic rectangle. And with the rectangle I've chosen a rectangle by center, and I'm putting it directly onto the origin. That way, it's centered up on my origin. Now, why is that important right now? Because, well, there's a reason I put it in the center. That's because I want this rectangle to be symmetrical about both planes over here, so that anything I do over here will affect everything I do here. This is what my design intent would be. I mean, there's a reason I'd center it up on my coordinate system. And what Solid Edge does using synchronous, it automatically go in and recognize the fact that I decided to put this on the center. So I simply went ahead there, extruded it up, and made a 3D block. My sketch, as you can see, disappears. And this is what I was talking about earlier. My 3D sketch then goes into a little folder over here called Use Sketches. I can bring it back if I need it for reference, but if I wanted to, I can go ahead and delete it, and it won't affect my 3D model at all. Why? Because everything I do from here on out is done to the actual 3D model area. So if I want to click and make it taller, I can just click on the face, and using my steering wheel, I can stretch that face out and collapse it back down. If I want to go ahead and key in a specific measurement, how far I want to move it up, I can just use the key-in function, you'll see the white box in there. I can go ahead and say I want to go up 5, half an inch, and it'll readjust. Also, which is automatically applied, I have a vertical dimension here, and it's showing 2.057. Now if I wanted to drive the model using this dimension, I could simply key in a value and it would adjust. Now there's a lot of different things, going ahead and locking down the dimension, making it rigid, but for now we're just going to kind of cover how you can start designing some of these things. So right here I have a block. I want to go ahead and create another step. I want to make a little mini tower out of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pick the rectangular feature again, and instead of having to go in and creating a plane, after you create the plane, zeroing into that plane, doing all the stuff that you normally do in history based, all I have to do is just lock onto this top plane right here and use my center coordinates because I want this one centered too, and just draw another block. Come back over here, I'm going to pull this face out and extrude it up a little bit more, and I'm going to draw one more right here on the top. Using the same method here, I'm going to zero in. Using my coordinate system as a midpoint, go ahead and stretch that out, and I'm going to pull this up. And that quickly I have a little 3-stack tower. Now in a history-based environment, I would have each step as I progressed up here, and it would show you protrusion 1, protrusion 3. If I went ahead and decided to put a cutaway over here on the top and cut down, we'll just kind of give it a blank, or I could go ahead and just using the existing geometry here. I'm going to use this endpoint since I don't know what the length of this is, but save some time. That would be that cutout here in a history-based environment would matter. Over here in Synchronous, it really doesn't matter what order these are in. I could rearrange and push that cutout to the very top, because in a synchronous environment, this is just a list of the different features I have available or that I have created. So I've created a cutout, I've created a protrusion. Synchronous really doesn't care what order they're in. As long as they're there, it can recognize it. So say this middle protrusion there, I started to design this tower and I said, you know what, it doesn't need to be there. In a traditional environment, traditional history-based environment, if I didn't need that anymore, I'd delete it out, and then it would end up crashing every other feature that was built on top of it. So the top block, the top circle would give me an error, and I have to go back to the sketch, relocate it down to the plane, fix it. In this case, simply just delete it out. Solid Edge recognizes, and Synchronous recognizes that it's no longer there, and it goes back and it recreates the model instantly. Now, how's it doing this? Solid Edge is constantly creating and destroying the model. So you're shaping the model as you're going. Think of it as a lump of clay. You're sitting there adding new features to it, changing this side, changing that side. So it doesn't matter what, I can bring it back by hitting Control Z. It doesn't matter what order I did it in. I can delete the middle part, take that out, make changes to this middle part. Say I wanted to make it a little smaller. You see how the top block automatically fills in. I could change the base here. Say I wanted to change that height. So I wanted to change this height down here. Click on this face. I want this one to move as well. Go ahead and readjust that height, maintaining the thickness of the second level. Now I could go in there and put some dimensions on it, because one of the main things I hear from people is like, well, how do I keep it from one change affecting another? Making one change to one part, how do I keep it from affecting another part or another side of the part? Well, you can do that by either dimensioning. Right there I can lock this down to say stay 1.5 inches. So if I do move this face up and I put a constraint on it to where it's locked in with the dimension, or I could use over here, I could use my 3D face relates to add in even more rigidity and to keep this thing doing what I need to do. Once I start locking down my design, I could use dimensions or some of these face relates. The other thing we have working for us is down here is what we call live rules. Now, I made a little bit of a point from the beginning when I drew this block out on the center of my coordinate system, and I said, well, I wanted it to be symmetrical. Well, all I did was draw it there, and as soon as I want to click and drag this side out, you see the opposite side being dragged out at the same amount or the same distance. And then down here you'll see that my live rules is activated when you see it with this green color. It's picking up a symmetric feature about the X base plane. So that just means that Solid Edge is using, through synchronous technology, is using its intelligence built in on automatically capturing the fact that I did draw this on, the center coordinate system. So if I click on one side, it'll go ahead and pull the other side as well. If I do this to the top, it does the same thing because I drew that onto the center, about the center plane. So with this intelligence built into it, you don't have to worry about, have to go back and stretch out the other side, go back, stretch out the other side. It's already built in. The other thing, too, is say you didn't want this to be symmetrical anymore. Well, we can go ahead and suppress some of these live rules if we didn't need them to. Go ahead and suppress it, break the link, and tell it, I actually want this side to go ahead and step out some more. We can do that. We have the ability of suppressing some of those rules, going in and helping you design a little quicker. So in essence, what live rules is going to be an automatic lookout for you. It's going to automatically help you design a little quicker by automatically looking for the automatic things. That way it frees you up from having to do the mundane things. And last but not least, like I said, with the face relates, we can lock down this design by using dimensions and things. We can also go ahead and use some of these face relates to create some permanent relationships. So say I wanted to keep that at a certain distance, make it at a certain distance from the top there. I can go ahead and put a dimension in there, and it'll go ahead and add a relationship for me. I threw it in offset, so now that face is now 1 inch away from that. And the key with these face relates will supersede and take control of the model. So this would be more of locking it down. So regardless of what I had down here in my live rules, if I suspended my live rules, killed them all, I told Solid Edge, stop looking, stop getting my back, stop looking for, different relationships, these would still control and help lock down my model. So I know that's a little confusing. It may be a little confusing, maybe a little too much to grab here in the 10 minutes that I've been talking, but just know that live rules is an automatic system that's built into Solid Edge through synchronous technology, keeping track of the simple little things, picking up symmetric, picking up concentric items, just looking for little nuances that, as you started designing, and help you capturing and hold on to that design intent that you had. So with those two, let's go ahead and move on, and I'll show you another example of live rules, because there's a special tool in there. I was kind of using it there. I've been using it for a little while, and I kind of know what to turn off and what to turn on. Well, live rules has what we call a solution manager. And in this area right here, in this part, this was all done in Synchronous. And I want to focus in on some of these ribs right here. And if I click on this rib here, on that face there, I'll see that one, it's being locked down by a dimension here. So there's something constraining it and holding it to 6 milliribs. Say I wanted to go ahead and stretch this part out and make it a little thicker. And I know some of you guys that first started out with Solid Edge, you'll see when you start trying to stretch faces and everything, you'll end up with this error. You'll end up with an error. It's like, well, how come it's not working? Well, that's what the little I indicates. And if you kind of notice, these three faces are all coplanar. That means they're all aligned with each other, and live rules is kind of picking that up. Well, to help you solve some of these problems and taking out the guesswork of which one do I turn off and turn on, we have something that's called Solution Manager. So if I hit the letter V on my keyboard, I'll go into this new layout here, and this is what my solution manager is. It's showing me all the parts that are going to be related in this move. And you see that there's a couple of colors laid out here on the screen. In ST6, they made this a little better because they've added in a handy dandy legend over here on the right hand side. This color code legend will tell you what each one of these faces is either doing or how is it being affected by your move here that you're trying to initiate. So instead of having to go grab the book again and look up to see what each one of these colors is, they put in this little legend here. You can also click and change the color if you don't like the default colors that came with it. You know, you could always come down here too and click on it and click on this little button here, and you could change them there. But the main thing we want to focus on is what these colors mean. So if you just hover over it, you see that black that's indicated over there means grounded. And what that means is that face was grounded, and it's a non-movable face. And since Live Rules is picking up a coplanar attribute, so I try to move this one. Live Rules is picking up that all these are interconnected, but this one has a special relationship. It's grounded. You know, it's not going to move regardless of what I do. So with Solution Manager, if I hover over this, you see that my icon has a little red box with a white little minus symbol in it. If I right-click on that face, I'm presented with a kind of I'm presented with the icons and what's going on with that part. So one, I see that there's a coplanar relationship between the other three sides, and as I hover over them, I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of highlights in a different orange color. And then I see my ground. My ground is in an orange color. This is the one I have a problem with. If I want to deactivate, I simply left click because I do want to move this face. I want to remove this from the set. Once I click on it, it'll go ahead and turn into this gray color, signifying that that has been turned off. So then I can move on to some of the other parts. I can come down over here and say, you know what, I want to see if that's the only change that needs to be made. I could come over here, go ahead and make my synchronous change. You notice how the grounded part is now allowing me to move. I can go ahead and say I'll add another 0.25 millimeters to that. Oh, no, it's 25. We don't want to do that. That's way too much. So we'll hit Control Z. Here we go, 0.25. You know, we'll go ahead and it allows me to make the change. Same thing if I look over here on this top part. If I go down here, I'll look to see I have a horizontal vertical relationship between the center of this part and the outside of this area here. If I click and drag and move this part around, say I want to move it over to the side, you see how the little top tab goes ahead and moves around too. I don't want that to happen. So I can go back and hit V on the keyboard again, go back into my Solution Manager, right click on this face, and it'll present, you know, what relationship is associated with it. Left click on the little icon, and it'll go ahead and suppress it out, accept the changes, and now it'll allow me to go ahead and move this little cutout here. So if something does go wrong, you get a little error message. For beginners, I suggest go ahead and take advantage of the Solution Manager. That'll help you narrow down the problem a little quicker and help you do your synchronous change and kind of move around a little quicker. Once you get used to it, you can go ahead and start using these toggle buttons down here. But that's all part of the synchronous modeling. If you're doing this in ordered, you'd have to go through a couple of different windows, go in, zero on in. Take you quite a bit longer if you're just having to use a steering wheel. Judging by the time I've got left, only about 10 minutes. Let me show you.
Yeah,
one
we do
other.
have a quick question come up there.
Yes.
How did the face become grounded?
The face was grounded. The face down here was grounded from the initial design, and whoever drew this part went ahead and put it as a grounded face. To add a relationship, they just simply went ahead and ground and say I want to ground that area there and hit OK, accept it out. And you'll see that that plane is now grounded in. So it's, whoever designed this decided to, hey, you know what, I don't want that part to move. And you see I got this, I grounded this section here, so now if I try to move it, go back into my solution manager, I see that this part was grounded. So it's part of the design intent of where it created this part, say they wanted to lock this down, is one of the face relates. Things also get locked down, things also get grounded. Let me show you the my little tower here. Okay, my little tower here, if I rotate this tower down to the bottom and I try to do a synchronous change and extend the base of this out, you see that I get an error message. Well, if I look down here in my live rules, I see that there is a ground base reference or grounded. If I go into my solution manager, it's a little different because this is where I started. I'm making the change to the part, so it's not going to quite show me as it's grounded, but I know that since I pulled my my design upward, I know that this is locked down as my base. That's just design. That's just solid edge looking out and say, okay, you started here, everything was built up. I want to lock this place down. I'm going to lock this plane down that way. If you do make a change or anything else, everything builds off that point, kind of acts like a 0, 0 point. And the reason it doesn't, if you try this, if you go back and try this, the reason why this is showing up black is because this is one of my, the selected faces that I'm actually moving. If I go ahead and ground this side, let me see if it'll go ahead and, no, it's on my affected side. That's why if the side that you're moving is your affected side, then it'll kind of override the other color. But that's kind of the way you do that. If you do find a grounded surface. The last thing I kind of want to show you though is with the patterning. Let me go ahead and open up the correct. Here we go. Patterning also works with Synchronous. So here I have a cutout, and if I go here and click on my patterning area, I'm going to choose, going to lock onto this plane here. I want my holes all being on this surface here, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of lay it out there. I'm going to go ahead and switch. I have the ability of switching which one's going to be my origin. I'm going to say I want to go ahead and go there, and I'm going to go ahead and rearrange my pattern. Now I want these to fit, I want these to be centered in with my arcs over here. I could spend the time in trying to find and dimension it, find my correct dimension and get it squared away, or I could go ahead and use these face relay commands. Again, I'm adding these all into the model. There's no sketch, so I simply go in there and add a concentric relationship between that arc and the bottom arc, and it automatically goes in there and fixes my pattern out and centers it up within that one area. All again using Synchronous and my 3D face commands. So quite a few different ways we can go around, and it makes your life quite a bit easier. You can use Synchronous technology. You can use a steering wheel to move things around. You can mix both environments if you wish, but say we didn't want this hole anymore over there, we can go ahead and drag it around since we don't have it constrained anymore. We can take out certain objects, or you can go ahead and you transition into an ordered environment. Say you want to add rounds and blends. Say I wanted to add rounds to all my the outside features. We can also add the rounds just to, say I wanted the 1-inch rounds to be on my corners. I can have both environments working together for me. And that's when you truly start using the full power of the software when you start mixing both synchronous and ordered or history based. You're not locked down, but you start out, you can make your designs quite a bit quicker inside your synchronous environment. When you're done, you can go ahead and put in your finishing features using your ordered. So I'm going to go ahead and add all my radiuses to all my faces here. Let's go ahead and pick the bottom of that one. Preview, let's finish it out. So here I have, I put in my finishing parts, but you say, you know what, I want to go ahead and move this hole again. Let's cancel that, kind of get out of that one. I want to go ahead and move this hole. Since I drew it in synchronous, I could still do my synchronous moves on it. If I wanted to go ahead and change the height of the top block, the top tower, I can go ahead and readjust it synchronously. Even though I went ahead and I'm in the ordered environment, since all this was drawn within synchronous, I still have that ability, and I still have my steering wheel where I can direct the software to do things and direct my model and manipulate it the way I want. So hopefully I was able to show you here in the quick 20 or 30 minutes of time that I had to kind of show you the basics and the general overview of what synchronous can do and the ability you have to manipulate your models directly instead of having to go back and reference a sketch or anything. All the changes were made on the model level. You can drive it many different ways. You can use both environments if you wish, and you always have live rules watching your back. If you want to override live rules, showed you how you can simply go in there and manually turn them on, or go in and look at the solution manager to help find the correct path that you want to follow. So with that, I turn it back over to Candace. And thank you for coming. If any other questions, just let me know.
All right, thanks, Sam. We'll get to questions in a little bit. We do have a couple. I just want to go over something real quick and go ahead and show you that we do solid edge training here from Swoosh Technologies, and Sam is one of our great instructors. And I just want to make a quick note that we do it in our classrooms, and we can go on your site. But also something that's becoming very popular right now is doing our training online, which is with a live instructor, and it's still interactive. So there's always that option. And just to go with this webinar, we do offer a solid edge synchronous modeling class. If you're currently using 2D, wanting to go into 3D, or you're just using the ordered history modeling, you can take the class and dive into synchronous technology. You can view our full schedule online at www.swooshtech.com/swoosh_training_courses. And just another side note, for those of you that are Solid Edge users already, you can attend Solid Edge University, which is the largest Solid Edge user event. And it's held each year. This year it's going to be in May, and it's held in Atlanta. If you go ahead and register before February 28th, you can save $100 with the early bird special. And there's also a special, if you register too, you get your third one free from your same company. So those are great things to look into. And right now we can go over some questions real quick. And these questions are more related to ordered versus synchronous.
Okay.
So when it is ordered and you have dimensions, can you have dimensions added automatically, or can you save them in synchronous?
Yeah, the dimensions that you add in the synchronous environment, they'll carry over. I mean, the automatic dimensions that were being added on were like depth dimensions when I extruded an object. Whenever if you add in some of the, if you go into the hole recognition and call out a hole to being a counterbore, countersink, stuff like that, that dimension will give you automatically added on. There is an option when you're sketching to turn on automatic dimensioning. So as soon as you draw either a closed object or a fixed object, you can have it automatically dimension that for you and lock it down, and then those dimensions would carry over into your 3D model. So there's quite a few different options you can use, and the answer would be yes. Yes, any dimension you add onto a sketch do get carried over and pulled into your 3D model.
Great. And then in order, you can select the plan, then the drawing tools, like, for example, a line or a circle, etc. So in Synchronous, this is reversed. Is that correct?
Say that again.
So they're referring to, in order, do you select the plan and then the drawing? Is this the same process in Synchronous, or does that change?
Oh, okay, yeah. In Synchronous, what you can do is you can select any plane, or you can select any face surface. So what I was doing with the tower was I was selecting the top of the first layer of the tower to act as my plane, and I would draw in I drew a sketch in and then went ahead and made either extruded it out, or I could cut it back into the model. So you're not necessarily tied down to the having to create a base plane or create another plane per se. You can use the existing geometry to function as your plane. Now, of course, you can always go in there and add, we have different, you can add a parallel plane, an angle plane, perpendicular, normal to curve, a 3-point, or a tangent plane. I mean, you can go in there and add those if you need to, depending on what type of geometry you're looking at. So say if it's a curved object and doesn't really have a face you can lock into, you can add a plane. But everything else, you can use the forward-base planes, or you can use a face to act as one of your planes, and then go ahead and draw your sketch from there.
Great, that's it. If you guys do have any further questions, just go ahead and follow up with any of the follow-up emails, or give us a call here at the office. You can reach us at 314-549-8110. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
All right, thank you.